All right, so this is our kind of second major substantive or content meeting for Rec Summer Camp. The whole idea here is to talk through gear, food, and skills that you need. And happy to answer questions about itinerary and scheduling and other planning, stuff like that. But largely speaking, this meeting is for you, especially if you've never really done backcountry, primitive, or dry camping before without like a treated water supply or flush toilets, that sort of thing. That's totally what this class is all about, to get you out into some of these places that you might be working soon, get you in front of some of the people that you might be working with, and start to learn some names and some faces and some places to apply to so that you understand that they're real places. You know, you're from Oklahoma, you know what the West is like. It's different. And it's sort of this unimagined terra incognita space for somebody who's grown up as a flatlander in Illinois or Missouri and never really traveled much. But there's a big world of forestry out there. So yeah, we're gonna have some beautiful sunrises and sunsets. We're gonna have some gnarly storms, including electrical storms and snow. On our gear list, the requirement, not a nice idea, but the requirement is to pack for safety and survival between 20 degrees Fahrenheit, because we'll be going up to 12,000 feet with drift snow and permafrost conditions and alpine conditions in places in the Rockies. And we'll be at low elevation in the desert as well. And at the Grand Canyon alone, there can be a 70-degree temperature differential. It'll be 100 degrees Fahrenheit down on the Colorado River and literally snowing at the top. 70-degree change. So our range is from 20 degrees Fahrenheit up to 125 degrees in the shade Fahrenheit. And being safe and functional in all of that range of conditions, with or without wind, with or without irate wildlife, with or without lightning, the whole 9 yards, right? This is what we do as foresters, so this is not probably coming as a surprise to anybody, but just so that it's sort of clearly laid out what the goal here is. We don't want to back down from any of this stuff, just more learn to be functional and comfortable and entirely safe and effective in it. Before I get into kind of the nitty-gritty of the packing list and all of that, does anybody have any questions to start out? Anything that's been kind of gnawing at the back of your mind for these couple weeks? Yeah.
This is just like more so for the first week and stuff like that, but like for the day trips, are we just like bringing lunch, grabbing our backpack, going out to the field, and like coming back to our places at the end of the day and stuff like that? Exactly,
yeah. Okay. So the instruction for week number 1, the local week, is going to be to arrive to the ag lot at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. We'll let you know each day, and come with that full May weather conditions setup. So top and bottom rain gear. A rain jacket by itself is not enough. You can absolutely have 45-degree weather and pouring rain in May here in southern Illinois, and that is legitimately a deadly hypothermic condition. So it's rare, but we'd be idiots to not prepare for what is something easily prepared for. Okay? So if we get in the good habit of having top and bottom rain gear, and knowing and planning for your shoes to either get wet and dry quickly, like in the case of trail running shoes, these will get wet instantly, and they also dry out very quickly just from body heat, and the whole thing is a mesh vent, right? All the way up to a full grain leather limmer hiking boot that's like 2 pieces of leather and a sole and some laces. It will keep you bone dry up to your ankle, but it might take several days to dry out instead of several minutes to hours. And that can even be life-threatening if you have blisters and you pop that sterile environment of the blister, and if the wound, that is a skin wound, if that goes septic, you can lose a limb from that. This happened before. Not in summer camp, but I intend to not be the one they name the new disease after, so let's not do that. So all that to say, have a plan for, okay, I'm going to wear boots today, and I know it's going to rain, so I am going to plan to wear a different pair of shoes tomorrow. So, top and bottom rain gear, proper footwear, sun protection. Skin cancer is a thing among foresters. Makes sense. We'll see on our clothing list something like a wide-brimmed hat instead of a ball cap. The sun protection doesn't matter a lot here in Southern Illinois, unless you are pasty white, Scotch Irish like I am, in which case it does matter, even here in Southern Illinois. But when we get up to 11 and 12,000 feet and you have 12,000 feet less atmosphere to ablate or absorb that hard UVB, hard UVC radiation from the sun, we're getting insolation at this latitude at 1,200 watts per square meter. I mean, 12 100-watt light bulbs right into the UV spectrum, blazing on you all the time. And without that extra layer of atmosphere at 12,000 feet, you're going to burn fast, you're going to burn hard, and you're going to have to live with that gene damage. You're cooking your DNA off, photolizing it, technically speaking, for the rest of your life. And I don't want that for you. So I want us to make awesome memories, not hospital bills. So sun protection, bug protection, and something to carry typically 1 to 2 liters of water. We want to have access to 2 liters at any given time, any day, whether it's a day trip on this first week or certainly 1 to 2 liters at a minimum on some of our desert hiking days like at Canyonlands or in the Grand Canyon or whatever. We'll talk more about water carrying requirements for the long distance portion of the trip when we get to that. So, yeah, and then we'll come back. We'll have lunch out in the field. It's more successful for you to have to hand a bunch of snacks. Have a snack at 10, have a bigger snack at noon, have a snack at 1 and 2 and 3, and your energy level will go up and stay up instead of go up and then crash right after lunch when your body is saying siesta and your professor's saying, let's double down. That's a very normal and expected thing. So part of our professional hygiene, so to speak, is to train our bodies and our behaviors to provide energy when we need it. Mostly for the sake of having clear thought processes, having clear decision-making ability when it's the middle of the afternoon and a medical emergency comes up or a navigation error comes up or something like that, and you have to make better choices, but your brain just physically can't support it. Okay? So, yeah, and then we'll come back, between typically 3 and 5 o'clock this first week. Everybody kind of dismisses to home to go pick ticks, grocery shop, get any last second gear and stuff like that. And then following that, we'll pile onto the vehicles and head out west, and we're all day, every day from there.
Would that be like that Friday or the weekend?
Currently, plan is Friday, yeah. Other questions to start off? Dakota had a good question. Thank you. That it for now? Cool. All right, let's go through here a little bit. Just as a disclaimer, if this ends up being too much or not enough of the specific answers that you're looking for, just as a reminder, at the end of this page, it's at logan-park.org. You go to the teaching menu and then go to Forest Rec Summer Camp. Okay? The very last section of this very long and detailed page is just a whole bunch of videos like what we're talking about today. An example fitness routine. We're going to talk about doing yoga for swinging trail tools, for example, because hard quantitative research has demonstrated how you can protect your spine. And yoga is it. So, we have a whole bunch of skills that are going to be very useful to you, some of which we'll cover today, some of which we won't, some of which we'll pick up during summer camp, but to the extent that you are forearmed with knowledge, summer camp is going to be more enjoyable for you because things are just easier when you know more beforehand. Okay? So, we've got a couple of info session recordings, and some of those skills are entirely transferable. In particular, the 2021 videos were the last time that we went out west, and so this is the next time for us to pick up this itinerary again and deal with arid and semi-arid forestry practices, field work, dealing with pinyon juniper, ponderosa pine, aspen, larch, tamarack, all that stuff. So those will be useful videos for you. The answers will be much the same in 2023 as they were in 2021. The weather conditions are different this year, very different. So it was quite dry and intense stormy. We're going to be in some pretty dry parts or semi-arid parts of the American Southwest and the Intermountain West. But I don't know if you've been following the news, but California has partially exited its 1 to 5,000 year drought event. They are filling up entire reservoirs with single rain events right now with these atmospheric rivers. What a time to be alive. The wheels come off. Very cool. Moving on. So, all that to say, a lot of these skills are going to be on this, and I'll be uploading videos as we go as well. But this is already a pretty heavy page for your phone, so maybe load it on your laptop instead. For some phones, this page will just force reload because you just run out of memory on a cell phone trying to load something this big. Okay, back up to the top. So, in our last meeting, we went through the itinerary. That is largely unchanged at this point, with just at this point minor logistical additions and subtractions to that. We are doing the western trip, and that is all basically lined out here in some detail on the first part of this page here. So from here we get into the gear and frequently asked questions section of it. We are going to be in 1 or 2 vehicles, it looks like, at this point. The course fee is, I don't know how much the actual cost will be, but the Forestry Department's move is to bill the full, I think, $750 for the course fee. And then to the extent that we can like save on any gas mileage or anything like that, you get a refund or a credit back to your statement. However, the Bursar does that after summer camp is over and we know what the final actual cost is. But it won't go over $750. We can't do that. So for your planning purposes, that is that. Let's see. It is 6 credits, and we are not doing a final exam. Your field notebook is functionally your exam. So whenever we are doing something, I would love to see everybody like face down in your field notebook writing as fast as you can. You definitely want that to be a Write in the Rain notebook for lots of good reasons. It's tear resistant, it's chemical spill resistant. If you're using bug dope like DEET, that stuff is designed to melt plastic. Literally, that was its original industrial purpose. And so it can do a number on pen ink, for example. So a pencil and Write in the Rain paper is the right move. Not a tiny little memo pad, but like a field notebook size book, 80 to 150 pages, something like that, half of 8.5 by 11 size or larger is going to get you where you need to go. The field notebooks that can fit inside your largest pants pocket seems to be about the sweet spot in terms of total available amount of notes space. You'll be writing a lot of stuff in here, drawing a lot of field diagrams, taking a bunch of tables of field measurements and stuff like that, so you want to have plenty of space to do that in. And in the past, we found when students have multiple field notebooks, it gets to be this juggling act of which one do I need now? Well, this one's filled up, but I can't find my other fresh one, and I'll just write on a margin or something and just kind of muddle on through. And you can survive like that, but it's not private. So get a big book, give yourself plenty of space for that. Let's see. For spending money, we're gonna stop. We're gonna have access to like fresh groceries and stuff to supplement your cheaper bulk goods and so forth throughout the trip, but not every day. So we'll be near Pagosa, we'll be near Denver very briefly, we'll be near Moab at several points, and Springdale, Utah, St. George, places like that, with regular grocery stores and stuff like that. The smaller the town is, the more likely the grocery store is to be oriented to the tourism industry instead of like I just need some bread and a banana kind of industry. Okay, so we don't want you guys to have to pay any tourism prices for anything. And by and large, I can get you to a grocery store every several of days. About the same goes for showers, maybe a little bit less. So I'll try to get us to like coin-op showers every 3 days. I have a solar shower. We'll pack it. We'll set it up in a place with some privacy, wherever we can find that each time we sort of set camp for several days. And you're certainly welcome to use that. It's one of those ones that's designed to like heat up in the sun, sort of a thing. Usually there's no shortage of sun out west, but that's the thing. So hygiene is important. Feel free to bring as many, like wet wipes for your pits and stuff like that as you would like, but make sure never, ever, ever to flush those. A lot of these toilet systems are on septic fields or tanks that people have to pump out and fish out those plastic non-woven fiber cloth wet wipes one by one. It's pretty unpleasant business. We don't want to make anybody do that. So let's see. We have parking available for our daily stuff. It's easiest to have a friend just drop you off. You don't have to worry about parking. And at the end of the day, if you live close to campus, I might be able to just drop you off to save everybody a little bit of work. But if you need to bring a vehicle to campus, we'll park it over at the LaSar lot, which is out on Douglas Drive, out past the old Greek Row, out past the LaSar Law Building. There's a couple of like old cherry picker trucks and university buses and stuff, and you can park back there as long as you need to. So we'll gather here each morning at the ag lot, load everybody up that we can, drive out to the LaSar lot, pick up everybody that's parked out there for the day. So you can park out there regardless of what your parking sticker is or if you don't even have one. And then we'll head off and do our thing, drop off at the LaSar lot, drop off here at the end of the day. So it's a first in, last out kind of a loading setup. On day of, I'll collect your car, make, model, color, plate, state, number, all that stuff, and we send that over to the SAU parking division. They do patrol that lot out there, so if we don't tell them that you're out there, they'll assume you're a missing person or somebody just trying to free load on campus, and you have a parking ticket for no good reason at all. So try and prevent that as much as we can. You are allowed to, strictly speaking, bring your own vehicle. We have had a couple of students over the years do this. On the long distance portion of summer camp, it's a couple of 1,000 miles of driving, and if it's your vehicle, that's all on you for that driving. We have a couple of folks who are volunteering to drive the university vehicles, so we can kind of rotate and share that burden a little bit. But if you really want to bring your personal vehicle, you sure can. That makes some of our logistics more fun and easier, but I can't help you out with that gas money. Like, I'm just not allowed to do that. So. That is a question. You could not get away with bringing your dog, unless it's a service animal. Service animals legally can go literally everywhere that their handler is allowed to go. So, if you have a working animal that needs to be on this trip for a medical purpose, it is absolutely welcome. And I would be totally breaking the law to say anything to the contrary. So by all means, bring that hard-working pup. But otherwise, they need to stay home. We have pet boarding facilities around town, probably cheaper to board and so forth. Can you join summer camp late? Possibly, maybe. This class condenses two 16-week 3-credit classes down into 4 weeks. So missing a single day is like missing something like a month of class time for a single class. It's very easy to get very behind. I absolutely want to work with you on if you need to come back a day early or if you need to leave a day late. For the long distance portion of the class though, I have to be pretty firm about that because I need to, cover everybody's needs on that. So if you do have any logistics like that, if you need us to drop you off in Denver on our way home because you have a summer job in Silverton or something like that, that's awesome. We've done that most years. That's fine. That's actually pretty exciting. And I'm happy to support that however we can. As long as it's along our plan route. I can't spend everybody's gas money to get you to your next job. So, very fair. Let's see. This brings us to gear. Other questions before we jump into gear? Want to ask questions, logistic stuff? Pretty good so far? Okay. In the same vein as every Marine or rifleman, or rifle person, I don't know, every forest rec, every forest wildlife, every urban forester, whomever, we need to get pretty functional with different kinds of gear for various contexts. For rec camp, one of our big pieces of gear, literally, is going to be a so-called expedition-style internal frame backpack. This is a 70-liter Osprey ether pack. There are many like it, but this one is mine. So let's go through a couple of things. This is a piece of safety and survival equipment. This is designed to hold your thermal regulation, your rain regulation, and your shelter and food. So if we don't have this cocked and locked, as they say in the shooting industry, we're going to have a lot of problems. Below about 70 liters, so this is a space or capacity rating, below, what is it, like 5,000 cubic inches is about the same equivalent, I think. It's hard to just have enough room to have everything. You can sort of hang things off the sides and so forth, but that comes with increasing safety risk because, for example, if I have this ditty bag, which weighs, let's say it weighs 5 pounds, biometrically speaking, or biomechanically, according to research done by the United States Army, for something to be swinging around, or by the same token, for you to have 1 extra pound of weight on your foot, or let's imagine this is 1 pound, it counts as 5 extra pounds in terms of the exertion you need to counteract this thing flopping around. Because you and I walk not by muscularly pushing ourselves from one step to the next. That's hard work. That's doing a lunge for every step, if you want to think of it in terms of exercise. Instead, you and I tip forward, and at the last exact precise moment, we swing that leg forward and we catch that fall, and we fall forward in a controlled, continuous way in order to walk. And we spend very few calories to do that. This is how humans survived in the Serengeti doing exhaustion hunting, literally walking after something until it dropped dead, and then we'd eat it. That's pretty cool. That's metal AF. Before we had metal to kill things with. So, anything below about a 70-liter pack is gonna end up with stuff swinging around and you spending 5 times the effort to counteract that so-called sprung weight or swinging weight versus static weight. And the tighter that this is fitted to your body, the less it swings around. So this is not a fully loaded pack right now. You would never pick up a pack by one of its shoulder straps fully loaded. It will rip it off right here, and you will be very unhappy with me and you and the whole world. And I don't want that. So instead, what this is designed to do is, this is designed to basically strap you in like a 5-point harness on a racing vehicle, and they're to cinch or winch down as hard as you can. So you want the middle or the bottom of this waist strap to sit at, like, cup on top of, or sit right at the top of the outside of your hip bone, so that 90% of the weight of your pack is transferred down the metal or carbon fiber pipes that are right against my shoulder blades here, right behind these shoulder straps, and transfers that weight directly to your pelvis without ever loading your intervertebral discs. So if you are wearing a backpack and you can't have a classmate like stick a finger through and have daylight between the pack strap and the top of your shoulder, if you can't do that, that means you're transferring weight through your shoulders down your entire spine except for your cervical spine, your neck spine. And that is, with every step, a little bit of impact on like 20 to 25 of those intervertebral discs. That's very hard on your body, and you cannot physically sustain a career worth of that. So, we're gonna do this right. Typically, the bottom of the internal frame pack is a sleeping bag compartment, and the sleeping bag is the only thing that goes in this entire compartment. So we'll have, or you should get, a contractor bag. This is a heavier 2 to 3 mil, which is a measure of thickness, a thousandths of an inch is a mil. It's a very fancy trash bag, basically. And this is, I don't know, 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever it is. Buy a whole roll of $50, or 50 of them for $5, whatever. You put one of these in, mouth outward, into the sleeping bag compartment of your pack. Then load your sleeping bag by stuffing it one loose handful at a time into this space. Never roll your sleeping bag. Never squish your sleeping bag as hard as you can to compress it down to impress all your friends. Every time that you do that, you're losing something like 1 to 2% of the insulative power of that sleeping bag. Every time you roll it tight and tear these very thin screen door materials, this mesh that's holding the slabs of insulation of the individual down feathers kind of in place so you don't get cold spots in the sleeping bag. Instead, loosely grab your sleeping bag in a random new place every time and gently stuff it one loose handful at a time. Because this isn't living material, it can't regenerate any damage you give to it, okay? And this is safety and survival gear, so you want to take real good care of it so it can take real good care of you. So you keep on pressing that in, and usually this is one of the first things you want to load into your pack before the main cargo compartment gets full. So this has plenty of space. Then load the main compartment afterward and sort of gently press down on this. This whole thing becomes a big cushion. Okay? So, stuff that in there, and then gather up the mouth of the contractor bag, gently press it down to express as much of the air volume as possible without like torquing on it real hard. Don't sit on it, nothing like that, just hand pressure is enough. And then twist lock the bag off. You don't have to tie it in a knot or anything. Shove it in, stick it in, and that's waterproof. So, with this, if you should fall during a river crossing, we will have unbuckled our packs and loosened the shoulder straps as much as possible so that in the moment you fall, you can push this thing off so it's not dragging you under. This will float for a good little while with all the air trapped in here. And it's either funny if it's not you, or at least not tragic if it is you. But this is an important thing because, you know, you have a whole other world of problems if you've just fallen in water fast enough to make you trip. Okay? For our purposes for this class, water that is ankle deep and moving is enough to sweep you off your feet. Because in the real world, water that is ankle deep is enough to force you off your feet. There is a reason that police organizations and oppressive governments use water cannons, fire hoses, which are 3-inch aperture. That's enough to knock somebody over completely, as riot cannons, okay? Think about how much more pressure an entire river or stream can exert on you, all right? So a lot of the streams that we're gonna be crossing are alpine snowmelt streams. They're gonna be like 32.01 degrees Fahrenheit. Really cold. It's a shock to the system when you fall in. So we're going to be real ginger about this, and we're not going to have 40 pounds of extra weight torquing your body. Like panic fling this thing as far as you can if you start to go down. Okay? So that's the sleeping bag in its daytime non-deployment furled version. When you unfurl it at night, we're going to set up your tent with the burrito of survival. I just made that term up. On the ground, we're gonna have some kind of a vapor barrier and maybe, possibly, if you're feeling real bougie, heat, radiant, reflective, ground sheet. 95% of the purpose of this thing is just to keep sharp rocks and things like cactus needles, we are going where there are cacti, from poking upward and making your life less happy. We want to be like 1.0 Mahajis on the 0 to 1 Mahajis scale of happiness, right? All throughout summer camp. and cactus needles bring us down real fast. So, ground sheet, mostly to prevent wear and tear on the bottom of your tent. We're going to be living out of these things. We need to take good care of them. And this is easier to replace than your tent. It's a lot cheaper too. It's a tenth or 20th of the price. So, we put this down, and then we put the tent down. And set that up. Then inside the tent, put out either a closed cell foam, talk about what closed cell foam is in a sec, or an open cell foam, which is a little bit more comfy, but a little bit less waterproof, or an inflatable, which is a lot softer and a little bit less warm, sleeping pad down. In reality, pick one or the other. Inflatable pads can fail. They can pop. And they're not very comfortable and they're not very insulative once they've sprung a little leak, as from a cactus needle. Those pinhole leaks are possible to repair, but not automatic to repair, and they can take some time. So, generally speaking, at the minimum, I have one closed cell foam thing. On top of this, you'd have your sleeping bag and then you in the sleeping bag. Depending on the fitment of the sleeping bag, if it's very baggy on your body, like if it's got a wide inner diameter and you're not very wide on your outer diameter, then you want to wear bulky clothes, lightweight clothes like fleece, that will fill up that extra dead air space and trap it so that you're not getting convective heat loss with air circulating inside your sleeping bag and moving the warmed air away from your body. If you have a very tight-fitting, very close form-fitting sleeping bag, like it's got a small inner diameter and you've got a relatively large outer diameter outer diameter, like me, in that case, you want to wear fewer bulky clothes and let your body directly heat the very tiny amount of air that is trapped between you and the insulative folds of your sleeping bag, okay? So, most of these foam mats, not real thick. This one is, I believe, 3/8 of an inch. It's called a Z-Rest style, or Thermarest, Ridge Rest. What a lot of us will do is fold this in half and get now 3/4 of an inch, 6/8 of an inch, and shoulder blades are right here. Your booty is here, or your hips, and then your legs typically sleeping on top of your empty backpacking bag, maybe a spare set of clothes, something like that. A lot of people will use their boots and a balled up fleece or something for their pillow, or have like an actual like little inflatable pillow if you want to be super fancy, or whatever. But in this way, you get twice the comfort, twice the insulation capacity as what ostensibly you would get using this as intended or originally designed. So a lot of us will fold this in half and be living twice as high on the hog. Okay? So, this is important to keep dry as much as you can. It's entirely okay and pretty normal to store, especially an inflatable one, inside of another contractor bag, inside or outside of whatever stuff sack or stow bag that the foam roll or inflatable roll comes in. Okay? So, contractor bags are going to be one of our sort of just design vocabulary things. Inside of the main pocket, the big cargo pocket of our backpack, a third contractor bag, right? We're like Fred Armisen. You guessed it, straight to jail. Contractor bags, everywhere you can fit them, everywhere they make sense. They make survival rain gear. They make survival thermal gear. You can jump inside your contractor bag, inside of your sleeping bag, if your sleeping bag isn't warm enough to keep you alive by itself in very cold conditions. You're not going to be comfortable. You're going to be stewing in your own juices all night long with insensate perspiration, but it will help stop some of that vapor thermal loss. Okay? So, that's the basic sense of basically the biggest, heaviest items that are in your pack. Because your sleeping roll is large, but it's not heavy, this is like 95% air material inside, we want to have this not close to your spine. Inside your pack, when you're packing it up, usually your tent is large, but also very dense, right? This is a lot more pounds than this is rolled up, but they're about the same volume. So this is more dense. Kilograms per cubic meter kind of a thing, or pounds per cubic inch. So this is going to function part of like your spine. Throw this in vertically in the big main pocket of your backpack and pack it right against your spine like this. And so everything that's packed on top of this is not going to be laying on your spine. It's going to be laying on this, and then that hip belt will transfer all the way to this and everything stashed on top of it to your hips, and you can walk on without near as much effort as otherwise. Okay? So, any questions so far about your sleeping and thermal regulation survival system? Cool. You guys are just so smart. Everything on first try? All right. So let's talk a little bit about tents and answer some specific questions. Does everybody here have a tent intended for summer camp so far? Okay, cool. That's all right. For your tent, first question, is it freestanding or non-freestanding? Do you know? Freestanding. Not sure. Not sure. Mahaji? Yes! 2 gold stars already. It's gonna be a good day. So, tents, based on their design, are one of 2 things. It's non-freestanding if you have to stake it to something or tie it to something in order for it to hold its shape and stand up, especially in the wind. A freestanding tent typically has 1 or 2 arched cross things that brace against each other and are in tensegrity with the body of the tent, the fabric of the tent. And it holds its shape using basically catenary arches, which are a bunch of mathematical parabolas baked into the cut and design and the sewing of the tent. Very, very strong system. In the same way that Romans use arches, we use catenary arches in tents to great effect. And that also eliminates high corners in the tent if it's rounded like an igloo that you don't have to heat with your body. There's just less air pocket to keep warm in a survival situation. So that's a good thing. A freestanding tent is typically slightly heavier because you have to have poles that go from this corner to that diagonal corner and this corner to that diagonal corner, instead of 2 smaller hoops that don't cross each other. A non-freestanding tent will have 2 independent hoops like that. And the tent is basically a long tube with a hoop over your knees and kind of one across your chest. And when you pull up the stakes at either end, the whole thing just collapses on itself. The reason for a freestanding tent to be important for this class is that sometimes we're camping on bedrock and there's no place for you to stick tent stakes. So we could use things like boulders as dead man's anchors, right? We tie off to a boulder instead of sticking a stake in the ground and tying off to the stake. But sometimes you just don't have that. Or sometimes in very, very sandy soils, as you know from soil science class, sandy soils are very poorly consolidated. There's no organic material like gluing them together. There's no clay particles holding them together. It's all coarse sandy particles. And so a tent stake, stick it in and tie off to it, it'll pull out immediately. So you could tie off to a log and bury that log 4 feet deep under about a ton of sand, a cubic meter of sand. But why would you want to dig that twice every time you got to set up and tear down a tent? It's a lot of extra work for not a lot of extra benefit. So, freestanding tent for sure for this class. They're a little bit heavier, like a ½ pound heavier. You'll be okay. Much.
Honest, my tent's so good.
Super heavy?
It's so heavy.
All right.
That's okay.
A 1-person tent is really a child-sized tent.
Yeah, they're cool.
And children aren't real people, so it's like a ½ person tent in actual effect. A 1.5-person tent is a 1-person tent with space for your pack. A 2-person tent is a 1-person tent with space for you and your pack. Like comfortable space for you to sit up and get changed and stuff like that. So if you have a choice, would strongly recommend a freestanding 1.5 to 2-person tent. A 3-person tent is a 2-person tent with room for gear. So, yeah. You guys and gals are welcome to, I don't know, pair off and split up tent weight. Like 1 person carries the poles, the other person carries the body and the fly of the tent. It's usually about equal in terms of weight distribution. So you're each carrying about 1/3 of a tent weight if you do that versus having your own 2-person tent, splitting a 3-person tent. That's a wise thing to do in terms of weight management. It's a gamble though. What if you don't really like that person at the end of summer camp the way you did at the beginning of summer camp? So, choose amongst yourselves. You guys know yourselves better than I do. You definitely want a double wall tent instead of a single wall tent. So, a double wall tent is a tent plus a separate rain fly covering like 90% of the tent. If you find one of these little tents with like this tiny little toupee of a rain fly, you're gonna die. That's effectively a single wall tent. A single wall tent is this. All of your condensation, all of your morning breath is going to be dripping down the inside of those tent walls because the atmosphere outside is colder than the 98.6 degree, 100% saturated exhalate that you are generating all night long. Okay? For this reason, also, no sleeping on the buses, because then your morning breath is rolling down and getting in everybody's face and eyeballs when it drips. And it's very hard on morale to be like cleaning your contacts with somebody else's bad breath. Like, this is a thing, okay? So, typically somebody faces the strong temptation to sleep on the vehicle when they got specifically a Walmart Ozark Trail single wall tent. Don't do it. They're $20, they're ubiquitous, and they are not worth the trash bag that they're gonna go into after our first night anyway. Like, twice now, I've literally had an Ozark Trails tent brought by a student on this class failed the first night, like catastrophically failed. One person was trapped inside their tent because 2 of the fiberglass poles snapped, and it was like, like a drunk trying to fight their way out of a wet paper bag. It was a mess. Just hate to see it. Very low energy. All right, so a double wall tent has a separate rain fly, separate from the body of the tent. This allows condensation to get out of the mesh of the inner tent and condense on the rain fly, and when it drips, it will drip onto the mesh and not onto you. A double wall tent is 1,000,000 times more comfortable because it has high airflow with all that mesh on the actual tent body and shade that is not touching that tent body from the rain fly, okay? So, in wet conditions and in hot conditions, a double wall tent is better, objectively better. In cold conditions, you can adjust the separation of the rain fly from the tent body by pitching the rain fly or tying the rain fly much closer to the body to limit airflow and again limit convective air loss. In this way, a double wall tent can add up to 10 degrees of internal temperature versus ambient. That can mean the difference between life and death, period, in cold situations where you are absolutely maxing out every survival trick that you know. 10 degrees is a lot, not just for survival, but for comfort. If you're in a 30-degree bag for this class, you won't be because you're in a 20-degree bag for this class, but if you were in a 30-degree bag for this class and we hit a 28-degree night, that bag is literally not warm enough to keep you alive. But that bag plus a double-walled tent, that could do it, okay? So, double-walled tent, freestanding, 1.5 people or larger. That's what you need. You're welcome to bring a hammock. You're welcome to bring a cot. You're welcome to bring whatever else. Papasan chair. I don't know if it's folding in carbon fiber. Why not? But yeah, I can't be super flexible on that. Please don't waste your money on an Ozark Trails single wall tent. The fly is about the size of a dinner mat and about as effective. Okay, cool. What other questions you got about tents, sleeping bags, ground sheets, sleeping pads, any of the sort of critical survival stuff?
Where do you find the ground sheets?
Where do you find the ground sheets?
Yeah, it's like purchaser.
This ground sheet is tarp and mylar, which is aluminized plastic, developed by NASA as a satellite wrapping. I got these at Shawnee Trails. I have seen them intermittently but not reliably at Dick's Sporting Goods. I don't think I've ever seen these at Walmart, but Walmart has plenty of tarps. You can go to Lowe's and get a 200-foot sheet of 10 or 15 mil plastic, like drop cloth for painting, stuff like that, and trim that to the size of your tent for very cheap, and then sell for $1 or $2 the same thing to all of your classmates, and make like 500% of your investment. Like if you're an entrepreneur, there are opportunities. We've been trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty. Other questions about ground mats? Or just get one online. Yeah.
Where's the best place to get some of this stuff at?
Sure. Dick's Sporting Goods has reasonable good stuff. Shawnee Trails has awesome stuff. They will price match online deals that you find, which is ridiculous because
Shawnee
there's
Trails
always
does that?
one of these tents available on sale somewhere online.
Yeah, it has to be the exact model, the
Yeah.
same color though. Yeah.
Right.
That's how it typically works for most things.
Which is fine. In the past, Rick has also offered students of Rec Camp a 10% discount just to be kind for supporting local businesses. So, as a state employee, I can't recommend one business over another, but Shawnee Trails is available to you as an option. Also, Sierra Trading Post and Campmore and REI in St. Louis. They have their spring garage sale and stuff like that every year and so forth. So those are all fine as well. But you don't necessarily have to buy any or all of this stuff. Be fearless, shameless even in asking classmates, hey, do you have a tent that you used on summer camp last year? How'd that work for you? If you're not using it this summer, could I borrow it? Could I pay you $5, $50, $20, whatever? Talk with family and stuff like that. Basically, the only tent that you can't use is a single wall, one person, non-freestanding tent, or the big 15-pound, 8-person Eureka, family disaster, marriage ruiner tent. Those are overkill, and those tents are bigger than that whole pack is, so that's not gonna fly.
Yeah,
But
I got a 20-person tent.
20-person tent. That's a carnival tent. That's
It's
awesome.
like 25 to 25.
Jeez, like sledgehammer iron stakes in the ground for that.
Actually, it's not bad.
Really? Okay.
The only reason when Kmart went out of business, they had this tent that was like $700, and it was like 80% off.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, it came in a case that's got wheels on it and everything.
Nice.
But
Nice.
when all the kids go, my sister's got like inflatable beds. I mean, it's like camping at a hotel when we do that trip. But
So, just for reference sake, for those of you following along at home, we've got a double wall tent. This is good. This is a single wall tent. This is bad because it's effectively single wall, even though it's got a separate, ridiculous tramp stamp of a tarp. This is a single wall tent. That is not good. That will kill you. All right, moving on. Other questions about tents and ground pads and sleeping bags?
how
Okay.
do we tell quality? Because I think if you go to Texas stuff, they're gonna have cheap crap and decent stuff. I would tell that much.
Sure. You want to look for things like, in terms of
My
quality.
first rock REI, I'll expect their opinion, but it might be a 10-year, 16-year-old kid working at Dick's and has no idea,
Right. Generally speaking, specific brands live and die on their reputations in this space. There's a lot of competition, and so brands sort themselves very aggressively into different quality tiers. So, North Face is a perfectly good tent company. REI, their house brand, knocks off the designs of every
North Face tent.
North Face
Yeah.
tent, every Marmot tent,
They're-
every.
Hey, does REI have?
Yeah.
I've never shopped there, but I am going to St. Louis this weekend.
Okay.
I mean, are they ridiculously priced, or are they?
They're mid to high end. I mean,
Yeah.
their sale prices are completely fair.
That's
but-
what I was gonna say. If you become an REI member, you can shop their garage sale online. You can also get the REI resale. And I ordered a pair of pants the other day. The new MSRP was $150, but I bought these for $37 with shipping. from the REI resale, and they came in and they look brand new.
Oh yeah, same thing. I just
Yeah,
got.
so-
I think I just got these new Solomon water shoes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and they were like $100 regular price. Got them for like $40, and
Yeah.
because they were used, they weren't used. It was brand new. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So with that, I know the membership. When I did it, it was like $20 for the membership, but you get a $20 gift card right back, like just for REI. I think now it's up to $30 for the membership, but again, you still get a $30 like credit back, basically.
Yeah, but it's a lifetime membership, right?
Yeah, it's a one time you buy it and you're a lifetime member. So
What about the Alpine shop up there? Is that even there still anymore?
I don't know. They have higher end stuff, as I recall.
It's been-
That's a bit rich for my blood, and I do this stuff professionally. So
Okay.
anyway, there's a lot of
It's been so many years I've been in a store,
yeah.
Alpine shop, and I can't remember.
There's a lot of small stuff that sets a tent that is an asset to you versus one that is a real safety liability. So at a minimum, you're looking for double stitch seams. Everything reinforces everything. Reinforced or gusseted stress points. So at the corner of the tent, we've got an extra entire whole ass, as they say, layer of fabric in here, and reinforced lock and bar tack stitching. Metal grommets instead of plastic. And here's a big one for safety and survival. Fully taped seams, factory taped seams. This is a plastic tarp, and it's fiber and it's woven, but it's coated so that the whole thing is waterproof. But every puncture mark for the stitching is a hole, so they put another layer of plastic and it's ultrasonically welded on. You can buy a $5 can of waterproofing stuff. It never lasts. It never works that long. Like just it gets defeated.
I got a
So
pop-up
there's
camper, and we gotta treat it every year.
yeah, exactly. Nicer tents will have more tie-out points. This has like 8 or 12, I think, points around the perimeter of the bottom of the tent. We're in a real storm. You can stake this thing down and you could hit it with a fire hose, and it'll stay there. It might not be fun to be in while there's a fire hose hitting it, but that's literally how some of these are tested, and so forth. So stuff like that, and then for nicer, like mid-range to high-end stuff, one corner will be marked with a different tie-out, so you know which corner of the tie corresponds to which corresponds to which corner of the tent, and so forth. Let me pause right there and check in with these guys outside, make sure they don't have that class. Okay, cool. Also, fiberglass is a cheap way to get tent poles. You're looking for aluminum or carbon fiber. 100, as the rappers say.
lost fiberglass. Horrible splinters whenever because like some of the cheaper tent poles that are fiberglass will splinter really hard once you touch the legs.
Yes.
It's just like
Yep.
horrible splinters. Horrible splinters.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just put like a stamp.
These
What way
are.
are you heading out on the main trip?
Say again?
What way are you heading out on the main trip?
Westward.
I mean, 60 or
Oh.
you're going through Van Buren and all that?
You'll probably
We
take,
can. I mean, we're eventually going to hit at 70, you know.
I was gonna
but
say you'll probably take 64
yeah.
west to St. Louis, hop on 70 through Kansas, 70 through Missouri, Kansas, and then into Colorado.
Yeah, but it's not much of a detour to like go 60 and then, you know, tear up to there.
Yeah, you can't go all the way to Springfield. It's like actually 200 miles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no
all
big deal.
it's all westward at this point. So yeah. All right, it's about 1 o'clock. So if you guys need to head out to another class or something, that's cool. Otherwise, just keep on going.
Okay. Are
Let's
you gonna
ride.
be talking about the next parts, or are you gonna be doing this part?
If it's you guys coming in and staying in, then let's talk about the next part.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's pause this for a sec. Get a new video going.